What's up, guys? We're back here with a movie review. This is one that we've reviewed 3 times. We're getting it right this time, and it's
three
Glass.
times for 3 protagonists.
3 personalities. So this time it's Glass. This is a movie that I didn't know that much about going into, as I hadn't seen Split. Josh has kind of been a fan of the trilogy since its inception, I would say.
Yep.
And this really surprised me. I'll move it over to Josh here in a second to talk about the plot, but moral of the story is, watch this movie. It's a good movie.
What much more can I say? Because that's
exactly
the best recommendation I can say. So to give you guys a little bit of an insight in case you don't know anything about Glass, this is the 3rd installment of M. Night's Unbreakable universe. And, to give you just a brief little thing of what that is, it's basically just a set of stories following superhuman people in a grounded real world. So, it's very much just down to earth. That's the best way I can say it. Except, people can lift cars. But getting into Glass particularly, you follow David Dunn, who is AKA a vigilante called the Overseer, and also the protagonist of the first film of this trilogy. And he's hunting after I guess the best way to describe it is deranged anarchist that has DID. And the public call him the Beast, or the Horde, I guess I should say. And we get probably introduced, I would say, either the end of the first act or the beginning of the second act to this doctor that is a psychiatrist that is called Ellie Staple. And she reunites David Dunn with Mr. Glass, who is Elijah Price, and also along with the Beast. And in her own words, trying to cure their illusions of grandeur. Which is a great phrase. I love that so much.
I have those delusions that will have 50 subs. Anyway,
that's true. But anyway, yeah. So, Michael, what did you think about the film?
So, it's an M. Night Shyamalan movie, so you're going to get good, for the most part, acting. Nah, this one we got really good acting from all three.
Trees, not. We're gonna
trees. All 3 main, protagonists / characters. Mm-hmm. Specifically, the character of the Beast and the Horde and all those different personalities. That you saw some of them in Split. You see quite a bit more here. I think the actor did a great job. Differentiating from all those personalities. Is throughout the movie he kind of has to switch back in a second or two. I couldn't really tell if they made multiple shots to for him to record all that, but even if that was the case, it's still impressive that what kind of the repertoire he has. Mm-hmm. Also, I think as an M. Night Shyamalan movie, you're gonna have a lot of twists or some twists. The ones in this movie was understandable. I think. I was happy for it with the most part. I was unhappy what happened with one character, but besides that, I think it kind of fit within universe, and it shaped the ending in a way that I found acceptable.
Yeah, like you said, the performances in this are just outstanding. Even the side characters are really blowing me away. In Split, you have I'm sorry if I'm going to butcher your name, Anya Joy Taylor. I think.
Something like that.
Sorry, I'm sorry if you're
remember that
this,
wrong. We're sorry.
But she does an amazing job bringing kind of. I want to say her character is really important to how the Horde interacts with people per se, and so bringing that side character in, she does a really good job bringing that. I think another big highlight is the guy who plays as David's son. In Unbreakable, he was a child actor, and bringing back original cast members, that is something that's cool because it keeps to that continuity, but it's kind of a gamble because you are betting that their acting has gotten better as they've grown. And so it was really nice to see that he was able to deliver a good performance. But getting the performances out of the way, I think the story was something that I absolutely loved. I didn't really have... I'm like Michael said, I'm a fan of the trilogy, so this has been one that I've been looking forward to, ever since they said that, or that people found out Split was tie into Unbreakable. And so for me, I think it was able to really provide a satisfying ending. That's not to say that there's some things I would have liked to have seen, but I think the route they went was still a great way to end not only the story for the universe, if they want to end it here, but specifically for the characters that they had already established.
Yeah, I mean, Josh kind of touched on it, but you have 3 side characters that kind of form a bond because of their relationship with, the 3 heroes or villains. And over the course of the movie, their character development, especially Bruce Willis's kid, because we kind of don't see him. I mean, they kind of go back and go through his evolution process and how all those events have affected his life. So I really appreciated that additional information and all those characters.
I think their use of their, what do you want to call those, of flashbacks are pretty well done. There's a couple actually that I feel like were cuts from the original, because it was like, man, if they CGI'd that looked good. Which that's what makes me think it was cuts from the original, but those were really good. They weren't overbearing, but they did add a lot to, I think, the depth of some of the side characters and the motivations of the main characters. There was one thing that's like in the movie, I think he did a good job of like ensuring this doubt for a second of being like, oh, are they actually going to go this route where they're like, I'm not going to say it here in case you haven't seen it yet, but
yeah, if they're going to go this route or not.
Yeah, and then they like twist. I'm like, oh, whew, you almost had me there, M. Night. But then, they have a lot of twists in there. But there's one I think is people aren't going to really be surprised about if you've seen the other movies, especially Split. But especially the ending one, I think there's no setup really for it when you look back at the other movies. But I think it is believable for the world that they, kind of laid out in the other 2 movies. And it does a great way of like subtly answering a lot of questions that you may find as like plot holes in like the universe of the first 2 films. But overall, I would say I was the only thing that I can really say that maybe was a little bit not disappointing, but just an interesting take was they seem to focus more on the Beast and those personalities. I mean, all of them do get their moments, especially with Glass. I mean, he's the center point of this film, I would still say. But I would say you see the most of the Horde, which is fine because I think he kind of steals the show in this movie.
Yeah.
Because just James McAvoy is a beast in his own right for acting. But, Michael, what is your rating for this movie?
Okay, so that's really hard. I think I'm going to give it a gotta have it. For someone who hasn't didn't follow the trilogy closely, didn't get a chance to watch Split, it's still a good movie. I enjoyed my time there. I'm glad I went to see it. And although there are some problems with the movie, I wouldn't say plot holes, but at least some decisions that I don't entirely agree with, I think it's still a great movie, and it's one of my favorite of 2019 for sure so far. So
yeah, it's the same for me. It's a gotta have it. I really I'm just glad that I can look back at this trilogy and say I liked every installment. And I think like Michael said, there is some things I think people will have preferences and maybe even justify quote unquote plot holes. But I think for the most part, it's a really enjoyable film that does a great way of blending the atmospheres of both Unbreakable and Split into one film, but keeping the theme the same to where it fits what is already established. So
yeah,
gotta have it for me.
I had a good time.
It's a great film.
Great film. Go watch it.
Go watch it.
It's good if you go in blind, if you don't know any spoilers or anything like that. It's not as big as I See Dead People, but it is pretty.
Yeah.
It does help the effect of the movie if you go in
not
and
knowing
experience the twists, firsthand.
I would, yeah. I think the only thing in closing I'll say to that is, because I mentioned it in one of my other previous recordings, I forgot to mention here, but it's just that I think if you're looking at it, comparing it to the other movies in the trilogy, Unbreakable has a great twist in it. I don't really know, because it's it fits so well that I don't know if it can really compare to that one. And then Split is just really well done in I guess not the bait and switch, but just the buildup of it. So I don't know if this movie really is at the same level as the other ones, but it definitely satisfies me as an ending for those.
Yeah.
I probably, repeat. It sounds like I'm being repetitive, but I think it's just important to be like, hey, don't expect it to be like on the same level, but expect it to do the same thing.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Relatively bring the same aspects. But anyway, guys, that'll conclude this review. That was like 20 years in the making, and we'll be back to fulfill more review and requests.
If you have glass bones, don't
ride the roller coaster.
Don't ride the roller coaster. Yeah, that's the story. That scene got me.
Always put your coat over puddles. See you guys
Later, Alex.